Welcome to the Get Out In It podcast, keeping our mental and physical well-being balanced by heading out into nature and doing stuff.
The activity isn't important. Walk, run, hike, bike, whatever it is, just find something you enjoy and get out in it. The point of this podcast is to show how ordinary people can achieve extraordinary levels of health and fitness.
Out here, we'll share informal, inclusive advice for anyone trying to improve their mental and physical well-being, based on our own experiences and professional knowledge from our special guests.
So let's lace up and get out in it.
And here we are. Welcome to episode 11. What a week it has been. How are you, Maria Herring?
James Bale, guess what?
I don't know. What am I guessing?
It's the end of school holidays. No,
not the
holidays.
It's not the end of school holidays.
It's the end of school term.
If it was the end of school holidays, you would not be looking as happy as you do.
Yes, I'd be crying. If it were the end of the holidays, come the end of the holidays, I will be crying. But no, as it is, term's finished.
It has indeed. Welcome to the summer.
What a week it has been. Yeah.
But have you quite finished yet?
Well, I mean, I finished teaching. So the teaching stuff is finished, but I'm just about to head off for 2 weeks worth of sports camps with kids. So I haven't finished like technically working, but yeah, it's going to be outdoor sports stuff. So this is going to be cool. This is cool.
There you go. Spending time teaching the next generation how to get into sport, exercise and activity, which is going to be a theme of the interview we do a bit later. But before we get to that, what have you done this week to get out in it?
Got out in it. Oh, I've done so many things. It's been a cool week, actually. It's the last week of term, but I have had fewer students as a private tutor. Some of my students have already gone off on their holidays, so I've had a shorter work week, which is cool. So I've popped into Lyon. I've done some summer holiday shopping, sat in some cafes, done my training, Natch. But I've done some other cool, fun stuff too, which is really, really cool. I've loved it. And I had a really cool Sunday long run last Sunday.
I was going to say you pushed out 30k, didn't you? Just to sign off the academic year.
Absolutely fucking did. I absolutely smashed it. It was really cool. It was funny because I was a little bit dreading that long run on Sunday. On Saturday, I had I had wicked DOMs on Saturday from my Friday sports in the park and then my evening 1 hour run. And I'd gone for a little bit of a walk on the Saturday and my legs were caning and my glutes, sorry, my glutes were caning. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to run 30k tomorrow. But I did. I smashed it. It was really cool.
Yeah, you really did. It was a very, very impressive run. Just nice to be outside, wasn't it, for all that time? Feeling because you were concerned you were losing fitness because you weren't quite doing as much as you wanted and you hadn't done a long run for a while, but you did it. You got it out. You can still run 30k. So what are you moaning about?
I'm not moaning about anything. What was quite nice actually was the kind of mental shift I think I had when I was walking on the Saturday, because I was like, you chose this, like it's your decision. You don't have to do 30Ks if you don't want to. This is your decision, and it's just going to be a few hours out in the woods, on the trails, out in nature. What are you whinging about? And I was like, fuck yeah. What am I whinging about? And it was awesome. I loved it.
There you go.
So James, how about you? Are you running around yet?
Well, I've had my first week of return to running rehabilitation.
Nice.
So I'm doing my rehab exercises in the gym at home, and I have done 3 runs this week. Runs, with a couple of minutes running and a couple of minutes walking, but it is a start. And then the thing with tendon recovery is once you start, you progress fairly quickly because you start drawing blood into that tendon and promoting recovery. So, I'm hoping to go up through the gears fairly sharpish now.
Did you stick to the rehabilitation thing, or did you go, fuck, just doing 2 minutes, and then did you just go off for like 1,000 years into a run, or were you sensible?
No, I'll be very sensible. I'll do exactly what I'm told
Cool.
until it's better. I need
Good boy.
to take this one very seriously. Now we have got a really, really exciting and interesting and illustrious guest this week, haven't we? So shall we stick on our hiking boots and go and see what she's got to say?
Let's do it. Oh, it's going to be insane. Yeah. Looking forward to this one.
Getting into it. So this week, we are lucky to be joined by Chrissie Wellington. Chrissie is a four-time Ironman World Champion, having won the race in Hawaii in 2007, 2008, 2009, and 2011. She's held all three world and championship records relating to Ironman distance triathlon races, the overall world record, the Ironman World Championship course record, and the official world record for all Ironman-branded triathlon races over the full Ironman distance. She's the first British athlete to win the Ironman World Championships and was undefeated in all 13 of her races over the Ironman distance. She's the only triathlete, male or female, to have won the World Championship less than a year after turning professional. Having retired in 2012 from professional racing, Chrissie now works for Parkrun and has very recently made a return to competition at the trail racing in Germany, winning a 69-kilometer trail event, which features 2,950 meters of ascent. She's also written two successful books, A Life Without Limits and To the Finish Line, and a series of children's books. Chrissie, great to have you, mate. How's things? Did I miss anything? I need to take a breath.
I'm exhausted just listening to it, but thank you so much for that introduction. No, I don't think you missed anything aside from to say that I'm a wife to Tom and a mother to our daughter Esme.
There you go. Probably two of the most important bits that I missed out there, but I'm glad things are well. And the first question we like to ask everybody who comes on the podcast is, what have you done this week to get out in it?
I love to immerse myself in nature. We're really fortunate to live in a rural village in Somerset. So I've mainly been getting out in it through trail running in the surrounding hills, not the hills of the Alps, admittedly, but there are still some hills in Somerset. And then also enabling our daughter to get out in it by attending beaver camp. So she's a beaver, and they had their first beaver weekend. So I was ferrying her to and from that camp and enabling her to embrace nature and be much more active with all her friends.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, that is a good way to be outside and a good reason to be outside. So the focus of this chat, really, it's going to be on your post-career and your work with Parkrun. But I would be remiss unless I touched on the fact that you, until very, very recently, you held the world record for covering the iron distance in 8:18:13, set at Challenge Roth in 2011. Daniela Ryf has now set a time of 8:08:21 at that same race. What did it feel like to watch that and to be there? And what did you think of Daniela's performance?
It was such a privilege to be able to be there and to witness such an incredible performance. I know Daniela, and I know we use the term greatest of all time quite a bit, but I really believe that it's applicable to her. She's such a phenomenal athlete, incredibly versatile, strong across all three disciplines, physically incredibly talented, mentally strong, strategically savvy, technically astute. She's to me the whole package. So to be able to be there and to see her perform and to perform what I believe is to her best was a real privilege. It was an honor to be able to hold the world record for 12 years. I'm really proud to have done so, but sport is dynamic, and you compete to the very, very best of your ability. I competed to the best of mine, and I was able to break the world record then, but sport evolves, and you hope that you can in some ways be part of a process that sees other athletes grow and develop and aspire to be more than you were. And if I've played a small part in enabling Daniela to kind of exceed her own, limits and achieve more than maybe she could have ever imagined, then I'm really pleased and proud. So although admittedly it was hard to pass that baton on, there's a finality to that, which is difficult. I don't think I'll ever again hold a world record, but it was a privilege to have held it, and I couldn't have hoped for anyone better to have broken it and to now hold that crown than Daniela.
I mean, you've more than etched your place in triathlon history, and that, those records that you did hold and the victories that you achieved, I mean, they'll be there forever and live on. The story of your career is fascinating and illustrious.
Yeah, I was so fortunate to have had the career I did. It was something that I never would have scripted, envisioned, or expected growing up. I think it speaks to a need to be open to opportunities and to be willing to try new things. Because had I never said yes to my friend that suggested I try a triathlon, I never would be sitting here today having had all those amazing life-changing experiences. And that's a key lesson and learning for me, is to always seize those opportunities and to be willing to explore and be curious about one's own potential. And I certainly, growing up, never could have envisaged being a professional athlete, but yeah, it gifted me so much. But James, it's a finite career. It's a career that can't last forever, whatever sport you embark in. And as a professional athlete, you always know that there will come a time where you need to transition away from that sport and carve out a new and very, very different path. But I'll always be so grateful for everything that the sport of triathlon and professional sport gave me.
In talking about finality, it wasn't long ago that the ecosystem of triathlon was trying to tell everybody that Daniela Ryf was fading and done. And I think we can put that conversation to bed for the moment and just look forward to what she's still yet to achieve in the coming years.
I think her performances over the years have shown such resilience and tenacity. And that's the mark of strength in an athlete, is the ability to bounce back after disappointment or adversity. And she's had races, quite a few races by her own admission, that haven't gone according to plan. But yet she remains focused, but is also willing to learn from those. And she races under a considerable amount of pressure. And I think any professional athlete at the top of their game can speak to the impact that pressure has. And for her to be that resilient and tenacious and to bounce back, especially when, like you said, some commentators may have written her off, is really, really impressive. And to me, that's the marker of a phenomenal athlete, not just to be able to win, but also to be able to perform subsequent to disappointment or adversity.
So you had an incredible career with a lot of success and a lot of victories. That decision to retire in 2012, what did that feel like? Was it an easy decision? And did you have an idea of what was going to come next? When you were talking about finality, did you have something you wanted to move towards?
It was both easy and hard. It was easy in the sense that intuitively, I knew that the time was right to transition. And I knew because I had had the race I'd always dreamed of, the battle within myself, the battle with others, that made me feel that I'd realized my potential. So all I'd ever wanted through the sport is to realize my potential as an athlete. And 2011, breaking the world record and then coming back from a bike accident to win the World Championships, together, those two races, I think, enabled me to prove my worth as an athlete, and they completed me. I felt liberated, and I knew that it probably didn't get any better than that. And I, having answered the questions that I'd asked of myself, I knew that I was at peace and was able to move on. And so in that respect, it was very easy. You know, I'm quite an intuitive person, and I listened to what my gut was telling me, and I knew that the time was right. But paradoxically, it was also incredibly hard, because in retiring from professional sport, albeit a decision of my own making, you lose your sense of identity, that sense of validation, your structure, your support network, your financial security. So you find yourself in a very uncomfortable, discombobulating situation where you don't know who you are, you don't know what career path to go down, you don't know where you want to live, you don't know how you're going to make a living, and you need to be comfortable in that uncomfortable situation, in that void, I guess, and start to carve out a new career that isn't anchored and centered around professional sport. And that can be incredibly difficult, practically and financially, but psychologically and emotionally. And then coupled with that, you've also got that physical process of weaning yourself off the volume and intensity of exercise that you once did. But just because something is hard doesn't mean that it's bad or that you shouldn't be doing it. And I think because it's so hard to transition away or to enact change, we often avoid it. And I knew that however uncomfortable it was, ultimately it was the right decision, and I had to sit with that discomfort. But it's the case in any other area of our life. We might want to change career, we might want to change relationship, we might want to move to a new country, and enacting that change, although you know that it's right, is nevertheless really, really difficult. But you know, now I look back and I have a life that is, you know, probably richer and more balanced than I could have ever envisaged 10 years ago, when I was still contemplating what direction to go in and what paths to go down.
So we know that you're involved with the parkrun events in the UK. Is that what filled the void when you retired?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Obviously, when you retire from professional sport, you need to carve out a new career path. And I as many people do when they're trying to identify what direction to go, I went through a process of introspection, of thinking about what was important to me, what mattered to me, where my passions lay. I did a lot of reading, a lot of networking, a lot of talking to people, and through that process, I realized that I wanted to combine kind of my passions for movement, for physical activity with my former career of international development. So basically using physical activity, movement, exercise, sport as a means of empowering others. But I wasn't entirely sure what form that would take. So what channel I could apply that. And it was a kind of fortuitous meeting with the founder of Parkrun back in 2012, 2013, that brought me into contact really with the organization. And I was speaking to Paul, the founder, about, my passion for physical activity, wanting to use it, particularly to inspire more children and young people to be active. And he said, well, we're looking to scale up and grow the junior parkrun series of events. Would you like to lead that? And so I came on board with Parkrun initially to lead a project to do just that, to grow the junior parkrun series into the kind of national network of events that we see today. My role has evolved since then, and now I'm global head of health and well-being. But I guess in answer to your question, your career is a key kind of slice of your life pie. It's not the entirety of my pie, but it's a key piece of it. And so yes, finding a career, but not just a career that enables you to earn a living, but a career that is anchored around your passion, was a really important part of transitioning away from a life of professional sport. Because I think to have a career that's anchored around your own personal mission, your own personal purpose, your own personal why is really important. And so that was a key aspect of that kind of transition, and remains so today. But for me, sport was a gift that gave me a platform. It in and of itself, professional sport is selfish and self-indulgent, but it can be so much more, and you can leverage that and leverage sport as a team, as an individual, to drive really positive change. So I feel almost like sport gave me that springboard for this new career, which I feel is a real privilege.
I'm quite new to running myself. I've only been doing it for a couple of years, but I am fascinated by this concept of parkrun. So for listeners who don't know what it is, can you explain a little bit what is parkrun?
So Parkrun was founded in 2004 with a single event in Bushy Park in London. So Paul was injured. He was between jobs, and he wanted a way of connecting with his running friends, so suggested they come down to Bushy Park, and he would time them and they would run 5K. The event was important not because of the running, but because of that human connection and the opportunity that Paul had to socialize, to interact, and to connect with others. And the number of events grew and grew and grew. And now we have 2,200 park runs and junior park runs in over 20 countries around the world. Every weekend, about 300,000 people take part in.
That's incredible.
Events. And when I say take part, I don't mean they just run, because junior park run isn't just for those that run. It's as much for people that want to come along and walk. They can jog, they can walk and jog, and importantly, they can volunteer, because all of the events is delivered by a group of amazing volunteers. And people can come along and use their skills, apply their skills as volunteers as well. And to us, volunteering is as important a form of participation as walking or running, because you're outside, you're connecting with others, with your environment, with yourself. And that is as advantageous to health and well-being as walking and running. So these events, whilst they did start off in Bushy Park as a run for 13 of Paul's friends, we now see them very much as community-based physical activity events that are open to all. You definitely don't need to be able to run to take part. You don't have to have any special clothing. You don't need to tell anyone you're turning up. There's no need for any special equipment. So they are a really, really accessible form of physical activity. And the parkrun events take place on a Saturday morning in areas of open space, and the junior parkrun events are for 4 to 14-year-olds. But adults can come along and accompany their children, or adults even without children can come along and volunteer, and they take place on a Sunday morning.
That's amazing. I love the fact that it's so community led and that everybody's getting involved regardless of whether they're like trying to get a PB for the 5K or if they just want to hang out and cheer people on. Or It's brilliant. I love that. Brilliant.
Yeah, and we're really proud. The finish time's getting slower, which to us, the average finish time, which is indicative of the fact that we are managing to engage people that are taking their first steps towards physical activity. And we've got people that take 15 minutes, and we've got people that might walk it in an hour and 30 minutes, and everything in between. But every event has a tail walker, who's the volunteer that is always the last to finish. So it's a really supportive, welcoming environment that truly is open to all. And what we're seeing is people take part in parkrun, but it also kind of catalyzes and precipitates wider lifestyle change. So really significant, diverse impacts on people's health and well-being from a simple event that's in a park or an area of open space on a Saturday or Sunday morning.
I love that, because there's something special about 5K. It's not an insurmountable distance, but nor is it nothing. There's 5K is if you're going to run it, it's far enough, huh? But there seems to be something a little bit special about 5K.
It is, and like I said, you can participate in whatever manner you choose. So if you don't want to, or you can't run 5K, come along and walk some or all of it, or volunteer, be part of something really, really special, because in doing so you're still moving. And I'd like to shift the narrative away from the kind of no pain, no gain, you've got to do X amount of vigorous physical activity to be healthy. I think we've got to be socially connected, and we need to move our bodies. And those are the two really important fundamentals for human health. Now, you can be socially connected and move your body by coming along to a park and, like you said, just clapping some people, volunteering, you're moving around and you're connecting and you're being in the fresh air. And to me, that's fundamental to health and well-being, and almost more beneficial, and I say this as a former professional athlete, than going out and hammering yourself over 5K. And so I think we do, as a society, need to make movement and being active really, really accessible and appealing. And that means shifting the discourse so that people are not intimidated and put off by imagery or language about what it means to be, quotation marks, sporty.
Absolutely, yeah. Because I feel like at the parkrun events there'd be no judgment. I've taken part in various trail races and stuff. Actually, the trail community is quite nice and welcoming. But if you're new and you're going to something that looks kind of professional, everybody's wearing their bibs and there's a big kind of arch and everything, it can be quite intimidating because you can feel like you're being judged by the other participants, and if you're not keeping up with them or if you're falling to the back, it can be quite disconcerting or disillusioning. But I feel like the parkrun events, no judgment, come as you are kind of thing.
Absolutely. You can wear what you want. Like I said, you don't have to tell anyone that you're coming. They're accessible, they're free.
Nice. Yeah.
Really, really importantly, you can participate alone, you can participate with your friends, with your family, and you only have to look at, you know, the imagery that's posted across social media to see that there's people of all ages, all backgrounds, all shapes, all sizes, and there really is no judgment there, and that's really important. And that feeling of being judged is gendered, and our, you know, research and the research that we conduct at Parkrun indicates that more women and girls do feel judged, and that fear of feeling judged, and that fear of not being fit enough. And that's not to say that men and boys don't experience that, but I think we definitely need to create spaces where women especially feel that they could come, that are safe spaces, safe from judgment, and they can participate as they are, and that they are absolutely okay as they are. And I think that's a really, really important message, because often we find that people don't want to start physical activity until such a time that they can do X, Y, and Z, or they look a certain way, and we're just saying, look, come as you are now. You're okay as you are. And I think that's a really, really important message, because the best time to start physical activity is now, is right now. And that might mean taking a single step, you know, walking 100 meters, going from the car park to the start of a park run. And if that is it, then that is a significant achievement for many, many people.
So you say that and I read online that the average speed is decreasing. Finish time is getting slower, which shows an increase in participation. And are you seeing that increase in participation from more women, more men? Is it happening organically? Are you measuring these metrics? And what as an organization are you doing to drive that participation level?
So the slowing of the average finish time is indicative of a diversification of participation and an increase in the number of people that are less active taking part. And we implement, which is what I lead on, kind of insight-driven interventions to enable us to better target and better engage those that would probably benefit most from parkrun. So we are a health and well-being charity. Our aim is to improve health and well-being. And if we accept that those that are less active, those from certain areas of the country, areas of social deprivation, certain demographic groups experience poorer health outcomes, then we need to focus our efforts on reaching those communities and empowering and encouraging them to participate in parkrun. So whilst some of the diversification and participation is happening organically, some of it is also engineered through the projects and initiatives that we implement.
Amazing. So there's a certain amount of word of mouth and people getting out there and bringing friends along and family along, but there's also a very specific laser focused drive to help people who haven't had that opportunity get involved.
Yeah, and developing the insight that drives the development of those initiatives. You know, one project that I led on is called the Parkrun Practice Initiative, which links GP practices with parkrun events. And as part of that, the GP practice commits to signposting staff and patients to our events. Now that simply scaled up what we already knew was happening, in that healthcare professionals were recommending parkrun to their patients and taking part themselves, with a diverse array of health and well-being benefits. So we simply scaled that up into a nationwide project, which has been implemented here in the UK, but also Ireland and Australia. And so far, 1,700 practices across the UK, so that's about 18% of all GP practices in the UK, have signed up to the initiative. So that, for us, that's a phenomenal way of us being able to reach a group of people that maybe word of mouth wouldn't typically reach. And there are many other examples of interventions, for example, around mental health, around people that have been impacted by cancer. We've activated, we've got 28 events on the custodial estate, and that number is growing by the month, as more sites are activating events. So there, for me, that kind of encapsulates the value of parkrun, bringing parkrun to those that don't have opportunities to be active outside, and using parkrun as a tool, not just for health and well-being, but also for rehabilitation and the reduction of reoffending.
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. When you're in the bubble of doing sport, whether you're a pro athlete like yourself, or whether you're just someone who keeps active and understands the value of it, but also has access to it and understands how easy it sometimes can be to get out and just do a little bit of something, rather than being fed this narrative that, if you're not getting up at 5 a.m. and getting 3 workouts in before work, you're not good enough, the kind of narrative you see online. It's sometimes easy to not understand how hard some people find it to access activity. What do you think the biggest barriers we're seeing towards people having an active and healthy lifestyle at the moment?
There are the barriers are many and varied. So I would group them into kind of categories, but finance is obviously a really important barrier. Cost of living is going up. So opportunities to be active that are free or require very, very little expenditure will be really, really important going forward, and linked to that, activities that don't require special equipment or special clothing, etc., etc. I think that there are psychological barriers that we referred to before that can be gendered. So there's still the sense that people are not fit enough, or that sport is not for people like me. And so I think we really need to work on the discourse, on the imagery, on the messaging around what it really truly means to be active. And that's why I quite deliberately don't use the terms, sport or exercise, especially when referring to parkrun, because I think that there are negative connotations, especially if growing up you haven't had the most positive experience with sport. So I think that there's those kind of psychological fears of judgment, of not being fit enough, that are really, really important. And then logistics. So I think we're seeing increasingly our areas of open space, or access to open space, being eroded. So I think people's access to facilities, to areas of open space, is being reduced. Now that can be due to cost, but also can be due to swimming pools shutting down, or apartments being built on playing fields, etc., etc. So I think there are barriers in terms of access as well. And also I just think structurally movement is being de-engineered from our lives. We are striving to make life as easy as possible, but yet that also means that we reduce the amount of movement that people need to take. They don't need to go to the supermarket anymore and walk around the supermarket and be active walking around the supermarket. They can just get, a home delivery. You don't need to walk upstairs. You can get lifts or an escalator, for example. So I think we've de-engineered movement out of our lives, and I think we need to find a way to reintroduce it. And then I think lastly, in terms of children and young people being active, I think we need to take a very serious look at how we integrate physical literacy into education, because increasingly children have less and less opportunities to be active and be active regularly, in a way that suits them and appeals to them. And I think that's a huge barrier, because that experience is foundational to a life of movement or otherwise. So I think if we're going to address these kind of chronic levels of inactivity, we need to address the barriers that we're putting in place when at a very, very young age amongst children and young people.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there, isn't there? There's a lot to do. When you were talking about the gendered psychological barriers of judgment and concern that women have at turning up to events and feeling like they're being judged, are you seeing change on that front from what your metrics bear out? Are you seeing a greater increase of women turning up and feeling like they can be included?
Yes.
That's good.
The data shows that women are much more likely to be less active. And so what we're seeing is, with the growth of people that are inactive or less active at registration, so we're able to engage more women. So that definitely is changing. And the fact that women still assume the bulk of the childcare, homemaking roles, the fact that parkrun is intergenerational and you can bring your children along and walk with them, run with them, volunteer with them, means that we're better able to engage more women, because they can both take part in parkrun but also bring children along as well.
And what else do you think we as a society can do to help people engage in a healthy and active lifestyle?
Meet them where they are and find out what truly matters to them, and create opportunities for people to move in the way that is appealing and accessible to them, will be really, really important. I'd like to see schools, employers making it a lot easier for people to be active, mandating walking meetings, for example, or encouraging employees to use the lift, to use the stairs rather than the lift. At schools, kind of, they call it exercise snacking, don't they? But just encouraging children to move regularly. We're all meant to move our bodies. We're not meant to be sitting still for hours on end. Yet, from a very early age, 4 in this country, children are told to sit down, face the front. And, and I just like to see movement integrated into our daily lives, so that it becomes a lot more normal, and we can move away from the kind of narrative around structured sport and exercise towards kind of healthy bodily movement.
Perfect. I think that's perfect. I think the more you can make it a subconscious movement, if you know what I mean, where it's just happening in your day because that's what you do, as opposed to feeling like you need to just follow a training plan or be at it 24/7. It's that's the way we'll get the best change, I think.
I know as well that you've recently written a series of children's books. which is fascinating to me because I'm also a writer in my spare time. So I'd love to know, what was the inspiration behind your series of children's books?
It was a wonderful lockdown. So I think you can empower people to make or to consider lifestyle change through a variety of different channels. So I can do it through my own social media. I can do it through my work at Parkrun. I can do it, through my parental actions. But I've always enjoyed the written word, and myself and my friend Susie just felt that we had messages that we wanted to convey, and that they could be conveyed best through children's books. So in lockdown, we created 2 children's books, You're So Strong and You're So Amazing. And it was a way of empowering young people to have self-belief, to be more confident, to aim high, to value themselves. We're really proud of what we managed to achieve, but it was also a really enjoyable process. So it wasn't just about the finished product. It was as much about the process, the collaborative process of writing a book was really, really enjoyable. And one that was really important at a time that I think was incredibly challenging for all of us. So it provided both Susie and I with that focus and that sense of achievement and purpose that was, I think, really, really important when it was quite a tumultuous, challenging time.
Nice. Yeah, I think for me, reading and writing are equal passions of mine, and there's nothing quite as powerful as the written word.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the process, but I enjoyed it as much because it was collaborative as well, and I think that was a real learning experience for me, especially on a creative project like that. But yeah, it was something that was really really gratifying, really, really satisfying.
My children have all those books on their bookshelves. They enjoy them. So we talked at the start of the fact you've spent the last 2 weeks in Germany. One was watching Challenge Roth. The other was a return to competition, where you won a 69-kilometer trail race, I think. Tell us about that. How did that happen?
Yeah.
When I retired from professional sport, I knew I needed a break from racing and from metric-driven training. And so I embarked on various endurance challenges and events. So we ran up each of the 3 highest peaks in England, Scotland, Wales, and cycled the 450 miles between them. I embarked on a cross-country ski marathon with a couple of days training. I went out to Rwanda and was able to cycle with Team Rwanda out there. So it was really, really enjoyable to resurrect kind of the raw love of just being active in a really non-structured way. However, I started to feel an itch that needed to be scratched, and decided I'd enter the London Marathon and trained for that, which kind of resurrected my love for competing, but also made me realize that I wanted to move away from road running. So I mean, the London Marathon was and is a phenomenal race.
Amazing day.
I think I just wanted something different, and I wanted a new challenge. And I think as as people, we need to grow and we need to develop, and I needed to test myself in different ways. And so I started trail running a lot more and entered a few different trail races here in the UK, and really enjoyed them, although realized that I am totally inept at running downhill. Something that is my Achilles heel, and I still need to work on. And so over the past few years, I've entered a number of races, anything from half marathon all the way up to kind of ultra marathon. And I did the Highland Fling, which is 80 odd K. That was up in Scotland last year, which was phenomenal. I've done Race to the Stones, which was not my finest racing hour, but I learned a lot. Did Race to the Tower, which was wonderful. And Garmisch-Partenkirchen is a town in Bavaria, and it's a place where Tom and my husband and I have spent a lot of time. It's where Tom proposed to me, so it's always held a special place in our hearts. And there is a trail race that kind of circumnavigates the Zugspitz, which is the highest mountain in Germany. The longest race was 111K, but I chose to do the 70, and that was a couple of weekends ago, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's taken me a couple of weeks to be able to walk normally again and be able to get up and down stairs.
Oh, I bet. Yeah,
it was just wonderful, and it reminded me of everything that's so wonderful about racing, the camaraderie, the scenery, the element of jeopardy where you don't know what to expect, and the roller coaster of emotions that's so important when you race. I think you go, many people go into an event expecting things to go perfectly, and I very much have the perspective that things are going to go right and they're going to go wrong, and there are going to be highs and they're going to be lows, and there are going to be times where I want to throw my toys out the pram, and there's going to be times where I feel like $1 million. And that's the beauty of racing to me. That roller coaster ride of emotions and physical experiences is what makes it so special. So I went through all those highs and lows, and it was just really wonderful to cross the finish line. And my Garmisch-Partenkirchen family were there, Tom was there, so it was really wonderful.
Amazing. I love trail running. I straight up love trail running. It's the best sport ever. I'm so happy I found it.
And you can eat loads more on the trail.
Oh, you can eat so much food. Yeah.
Stated workout. And the aid stations on this race were unlike any I've ever, I could have a 3-course meal, and
I love that.
Yeah, honestly, it was wonderful. But no, great event.
Amazing.
I think we do a race called the Ultra Trail Beaujolais every year, which is in October, and it's 50 to 80K. But the aid station's there because it's in the Beaujolais. They have red wine at each aid station if you want it. I've never indulged, but I've seen some that do.
They do, yeah.
It wouldn't help my downhill running.
No, probably. Well, it might do. It might do for a moment. You'd have that couple of glasses in, you might get better.
It would give you that confidence, yeah.
I think I'm great, but that won't be matched by my actual physical prowess.
Yeah.
I think the range of emotions thing is an interesting one, because I mean, I've raced Ironman, I've raced half Ironman, I've raced triathlons for the last 20 odd years. It's only in the last 2.5 years that I've started doing long distance trail racing and ultra marathons. I find I go through more of a range of emotions on one of those than I ever did when I was doing triathlon. And I think I've always put it down to the fact I feel like I've got less to do. My brain is less occupied on a trail marathon because it's slightly slower and it's a bit more sedate. When I'm in a triathlon, I'm always thinking about what I've got to do next. Where am I in the race? What's my next transition going to be like? Whereas with a trail race, I find myself going through these waves of emotion. One minute I'm right up here, then I'm having a crash, and then Maria's having a crash, and then I'm having a crash, and then it's insane.
That's beautiful too, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It's analogous to life, isn't it? With all of its highs and lows, and you know, everyone encounters obstacles. So it's not, you know, if but when. And so we just have to learn how to best lean into those and deal with them. And it's the same in life, and it's the same, you know, same in a race. So I in a slightly masochistic way, enjoy that ebb and flow of emotions, but also realizing that especially those physical experiences are ephemeral, because you might at 10K feel, oh, my leg hurts, or how am I going to carry on? Then at 15K, oh, that's gone away. Oh, it's been replaced by, oh, I've got a sore back, and oh, that's I'm just gonna, you know, eat my body weight in cake, and so that, you know, that those physical, you know, sensations come and go. And I think that's really important. A really important learning for me is not to get too attached to how I'm feeling at any one time, and definitely not to project forward and think that's how I'm going to be feeling 10K down the road, because you know it won't be. And I like to I like to ride that roller coaster of emotions, because I think therein lies the satisfaction of knowing endured. I mean, it's an endurance sport, and that's what enduring is all about. Enduring both the lows, but also enduring the highs, and not getting too carried away during the race either.
We tend to race together. So normally, so far, it's been one up. So whenever somebody's up, one of the other ones can bring them back down again, and whenever someone's down, the other one can bring them back up. So it's balanced like that. We've never both crashed at the same time, I don't think, to this point. So
no, that's going to be brutal.
Who knows what will happen when that
happens? Good God.
I don't know if Tom and I, if we race together, whether we'd still be. I think there's just some things we'll keep separate.
Yeah, there are some hilarious moments, though. There are some hilarious. I remember we were about 5K from the end of one race last year, and we were walking along up this hill, and we got to the top of the hill, and we looked at each other. So we better do some running now then. And both of us started running, and we looked at each other, and it was like neither of us were moving any faster than we were when we were walking. We were just waddling in a slightly different way.
But there are also strategic decisions when you do these races about when to walk. And I initially wasn't very good at that, because, you know, I like to feel that I'd run all the way, but realizing very, very quickly that there was strength and gains to be had in walking. And that was really, really important for me. So actually slowing down to speed up as it. And poles also help.
Poles
are a game changer. Yes.
It took me a long time to realize that.
They're a game changer. But yeah, I'm just enjoying the foray into ultra running. But like I said, I like a new challenge. And you know, I've done any number of races where I haven't run, got beaten by people half my age, but that's okay too. And I think that's a really important process for me to go through, is just to realize that at this stage in my life, I give it everything. I train the best I can within the context of my life. I'm not a professional athlete, so I'll fit things in as and when I can. So does that mean that I'm maxing out on my physical potential? Maybe not, but it's what I can achieve within this kind of broader, more balanced pie that I spoke about earlier. And I think that's really, really important, because I think, you know, we sometimes berate ourselves for what we can't do. And I try and think about what I can do in the context of, you know, of my life, and be kind to myself, and realize that actually sport is no longer the entirety, but it's part of that, and that there's achievement and satisfaction and pride that comes from other areas of my life nowadays. And I also looked to my friend. I had the opportunity to be part of a team that pushed our friend Sam around London Marathon and the Leeds Marathon. And Sam's got motor neuron disease. And, you know, it's, as everyone will know, it's such a cruel, debilitating illness. But, you know, that experience and knowing Sam just reminds me just how privileged I am to be able to move my arms and legs and breathe unaided. So every time, you know, I think about whether or not I'm going to go for a run, or that run didn't feel very good, and I have many of those, I think actually you can still move your arms and your legs, and you can still breathe without the assistance of a ventilator. How lucky you are. So that keeps it in perspective for me.
Yeah, I think that's a really important message, isn't it? For training, or if you have to go out and run, that's the thing. You know, we say to ourselves, "Oh, I have to go out and train. I have to go out and run," but we don't have to. We get to, which I think is a really important distinction to make.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, just to have that perspective. And also on that, you know, we spoke about the world record, and our daughter didn't come out to Roth, and our daughter knows very little about my husband was an athlete as well, or is an athlete, but was a former professional athlete. Our daughter knows very little about our kind of former life, and we've deliberately kind of kept the two quite separate. And you know, I came back from Roth, and you know, gone through that roller coaster of emotions about, you know, the world record being broken, and she doesn't care at all. And to her, I'm mum, and you know, and she just wants to go and bounce on the trampoline and cartwheel on the trampoline, and that's all that matters to her. And I think that keeps it in perspective. So those big macro issues that you think are really important in your life, and you come back and your daughter isn't bothered at all. And I think
I think that's it, isn't it? Like you're saying, I mean, you may not feel like you're maxing out the absolute athletic ability that you possibly can, but you're fitting the training in as and when, and the rest of your life isn't suffering because of it. And therefore what you are maxing out on is the joy and happiness that you can get out of every day.
Yeah, and being that, I don't like the term role model necessarily, but modeling positive behaviors to others, especially our daughter. You know, she sees hard work, she sees dedication, she sees commitment, she sees being movement as a normal part of everyday life. And I think that's really important as well.
Absolutely. My son asked me if I'd ever won the Tour de France the other day. I said, no, no, mate, I've never won that one. And he went, all right, and carried on with his day. So we've got to the most important question of the podcast now, which as we get to the end, the most important thing we ask each of our guests each week is to pick a song to go on the Get Out In It playlist, something that we have on Spotify, something that you like to train to or inspires you or is important to you.
That's a really good curveball question. Yeah, I'm combing through my playlist thinking about what ones would be the least embarrassing.
No, go for the most embarrassing. Go for the most embarrassing. I love it.
The Circle of Life.
From The Lion King. Oh, yeah. I love that. Yes. Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, it means a lot to me for many reasons. So I'll add that to your compilation.
Love that, because the film is awesome, the soundtrack is awesome. Brilliant. What an addition.
So if people want to come online and find you and see what you're up to and follow your adventures in trail and find all about Parkrun, where can they look?
Parkrun UK on social media, www.parkrun.org.uk. is the website. For me, it's chrissiewellington.com or Chrissie Smiles on Twitter. I'm not on Instagram, just for my own mental health and life balance. I've tried to limit the social media consumption. So just on Twitter and LinkedIn. My name, I think.
We'll include all these notes in this, all these links in the show notes if people want to come and find you. Chrissie, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, what a fascinating discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
The debrief.
The emphasis was correct, I feel.
Okay.
So that was amazing. I really enjoyed that interview because I mean I've interviewed Chrissie before, but always been from a triathlon focus, talking about her career, what she achieved, and you know all of the races that she won.
And what a career! Flipping out.
Yeah,
Like
exactly
when you were reading,
that.
oh my God, when you were reading the intro, I was like, Jesus Christ, she's done so much stuff.
I was running out of oxygen, but you know, to laser in and focus on what she's done post career and her work with Parkrun and what she's looking to achieve, what she has achieved, and what they're looking to achieve going forward. I really, really enjoyed that because I think Parkrun is a fantastic organization.
I love the whole thing about Parkrun. It's again, like I said to Chrissie, I'm new to running, so the knowledge of Parkrun came to me quite recently, but it's such a brilliant idea. I love the fact that it's free because like I love racing. I love going to events and there's like loads around here. But none of them are cheap to enter. And I do it because it's fun and I love it and, you know, why not? But Parkrun being free, I think that's an amazing thing to help get people out there and into it. And also the fact that, you know, you don't even have to run and walk, do what you like, just get out there and hang out with all the people in the park. It's genius. I love it.
Absolutely. And you can go with your kids, you can go with your dogs, you don't have to register. So it takes away those sort of almost subconscious barriers to entry where because the things you have to do to get to an event, you don't have to register, you don't have to think about it. You just have to turn up at a certain time on a Saturday morning and run that 5 kilometers.
Yeah. All of those mini pressures that you can put on yourself, like, and you know, if you get there on the day and you don't feel like doing it, then you don't have to do it, you know, because nobody's judging you, nobody's putting pressure on you. It's just a fun thing. So yeah, love it. Absolutely love it. And her whole ethos of having human connection being the kind of key driver to moving outdoors, I think was a really nice message as well.
Yeah. The important thing to understand about trying to be healthy and be more active is that it's not about all or nothing. You know, I think the internet is a dangerous place. I think it can easily convince people that unless you are maxing out your absolute athletic ability all the time, following a training plan, you know, working out in any spare moment you have, then it's almost not worth doing. Whereas the most important changes and the most significant benefits come from when you go from doing nothing to doing something. And that is the first most important step to take. And the more accessible and the more open and the easier it is for people to be involved in something that helps them take that first step, the better. And I absolutely love it.
Yeah, brilliant. And it's the fact that it's fun and it's outdoors. I mean, what you don't need anything else. Fun and outdoors. Moving through both of those things. That's literally life.
Indeed. And they're seeing, like she said in the interview, and we mentioned a couple of times, they're seeing that average finish time go down because they're seeing a larger volume of people participate. The more people that participate and coming from a place where they haven't done a huge amount of running, haven't done a huge amount of exercise, the more people like that get involved in parkrun, the slower that average finish time is going to get, and it just reflects their success. And I think it reflects a change that they're having on society, and I really, really am here for it.
I love that. I love that so much because I love running so much, and it just it makes my joy fizz a little bit to know that other people are having a go, seeing what it's like, hopefully falling in love with it, and then sticking with it. Just, it's brilliant. I love it. Thanks, Park Run. It's amazing.
So should we go and have a coffee and have a chat about it?
Definitely. Let's get a coffee. Better be good. The weekly roast. Is that it?
Oh, it will be. Oh, it will be. So, being that Chrissie Wellington is the queen of Kona, you know, she won the race 4 times. She won, in my opinion, the most impressive race I've ever seen anybody win, which was her 2011 victory.
Kona, that's the
Big Island at Hawaii.
And that's where they do the World Championships of Ironman.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So she won the Ironman World Championships 4 times, 2007, 8, 9, and 11.
That's extraordinary.
In honor of that, I popped over to the big island of Kona and picked up some coffee from the Big Island Coffee Roasters. Now, I was drawn to them because of their approach to sustainability, and they've got like a whole systems approach for economic, agricultural, and environmental well-being. So they tempted me in with those words because that means a lot to me, that kind of thing. And I picked up some Kona Peaberry coffee, which is a medium light roast and has a sort of cinnamon, caramel, plum, hint of cacao and cedar, and it's a deeply sweet and rich coffee.
Love that. Well, I mean, it's got caramel flavors, so anything with caramel is a winner in my book. In my cup.
Absolutely is, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I do always appreciate I appreciate these new coffee roasters that are popping up that really are taking their approach to sustainability and the well-being of the earth that we live on seriously, and that'll get me through the door, but it's a good coffee that'll get me to stay.
Yeah.
And they've certainly got that.
Good cup of coffee, Kona. Good cup of coffee, Kona. Fun bit of alliteration.
Let's be honest. So I think I should go first on the Let's Be Honest this week. Didn't you go first last week?
Did I go
went first last week?
Let's be honest. Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows? It's all blurring into one, isn't it? Well, again, I'm riding that wave of positivity that I was last week. I've completed my first week of back to running. I've done all my my walk run runs, and my rehab's going well. I can still feel my hip being an issue, but I can see success just down the road. So
brilliant.
I'm floating at the moment. I'm loving it.
I love that. So the light at the end of your tunnel is no longer an oncoming train.
No. It's looking like an escape hatch that someone's
love that.
For me.
Yeah, perfect.
So it'll be fine. What about yourself? You're about to head into 2 weeks of isolation. So how are you prepped for that?
Yeah, it was funny. I was thinking about this all week actually, because you do my training plan. I have a regularly scheduled training plan of things that I have to do on a weekly basis, which I need. Let's be honest, I need that kind of structure, and I need to know what I'm doing, and it makes me feel safe and warm when there's structure and routine in my life. And for the past week, I've been a little bit fretting about the fact that over the next fortnight, I'm not going to be having regular runs. I'm not going to be having regular strength training. # don't really care about strength training, but I wasn't going to be doing any long runs. So I've been a bit fretful. But then it's been a week of perspective shifting for me.
Epiphany.
But then I realized that actually, even though I'm not going to be doing my regularly scheduled training, I'm going to be outdoors and active every single day, during these sports camps. We're going to be doing loads of stuff. There's going to be mountain bike riding. There's going to be paddle boarding. There's going to be zip line, tree climbing nonsense going on. Loads of different stuff. So I said to myself, instead of thinking of it as 2 weeks not doing any training, think of it as 2 weeks of cross training. And then my brain went, "Ah," and it was amazing. And now I feel much better. So my let's be honest this week is also very positive.
There you go.
What's happening with the world?
I know. Neither of us are suffering. But also, I mean, the other day we were on the phone and you were saying that, what I'll probably do is add in some body weight work at the end of each day as well, just to feel like I'm doing something. And I think there's a big point to be made here to anyone that is out of routine or having to go somewhere or do something different, and they're used to doing a lot of training. Sometimes you just got to ease off and give yourself that break, because if you're doing more work than you normally would, or you're away from home, or things aren't as accessible, and you set yourself up, I'm going to do this to keep going and I'm going to do that to keep going. If you then don't achieve that, it'll feel like a failure. I think the most important thing you can do when you are out of that routine is put exercise as something that you will do if it will make you happy in the moment. If you wake up early one day, for example, and think, you know what, I've woken up early. You know what would really make me happy today? If I went for a quick half an hour run before the day starts. Brilliant. Don't go to bed the day before, being really tired, set an alarm for 5 o'clock and think, I've got to get up at 5 o'clock and go for a run. Because then when that happens, when you roll over and turn that alarm off and it doesn't happen, you're setting yourself up an instant failure. You know, if you finish your day and you think, you know what, I'd really fancy a little bit of stretching and a little bit of body weight work. That would be really good fun right now. Do it. But if you finish your day and you're knackered and you're like, I don't want to do my stretching, then don't do it. Go to bed.
Yeah. It's going to be quite an intense fortnight, I think. And there's going to be a lot of outdoors time, a lot of new activities, a lot of activities that I haven't even done before either. So, I'm kind of excited, a little bit scared, but yeah, it was nice to have that mind shift away from, oh no, 2 weeks without training. But actually it's 2 weeks of cross training. So.
Absolutely. And it takes 3 weeks of absolute sedentary lifestyle before you even start to lose fitness. So don't panic.
No, I'll try not to panic. I have got this 80k race at the beginning of October looming ahead of me. So I am a bit worried about that.
Solo, but
there we go.
As well.
That's for, I know, I've got to do it on my own.
Unless I suddenly have a massive return to form.
I don't know if my mind can take it. We'll have to see. This is going to be quite the adventure for me.
Let's see what happens. So, should we go and take your mind off it with a bit of music?
I definitely need some music. Oh my God, I've got some good music this week. Hold on to your hats. Turn it up.
That'll probably do, won't it? So I'm going to get in there first, though. If yours is that good, I'm going to get in here first and say that my tune of choice this week is Heavyweight Champion of the World by Reverend and the Makers from their 2007 album, The State of Things. This was an album I thoroughly enjoyed when I was living in Bristol back in the day.
And
it's a song that's kind of, it's got that you could have been a contender type feel to it. And I love it. It's got a really regular beat. So when you go for a run, it comes on. It's a very nice one to get your cadence set to.
Did you pick that titled track in honor of Chrissie and all of her world records for thousands of years during her illustrious career?
I'd like to say yes, but no.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, why not? Subconsciously. Who knows? Outdo me then. Your turn. Outdo me.
Okay, so I was banging on about it a little bit doing my 30k long run on Sunday. And actually, for the first, it took 4 hours. 4 hours I was out there. For the first couple of hours, the first 20k, didn't have any music, no headphones, nothing. It was really, really cool just listening to the birds. But then... Then there was a beast of a climb that goes straight up for it's over 2k, 3k, something like that. But it's literally nonstop. So I needed some help at that point. So I put my headphones on and I put on this track, It was a little bit too fast for running up a hill, but it had good advice in the lyrics. This is the Meth Juice and Cameo and Crooked remix of the Prodigy song Breathe, which came out in 2022. This remix did. And it's a really fast it's a much faster version of the original. But it's also a kind of really dirty, industrial kind of drum and bass thing going on. And I needed it at that point when I was looking at the base of that hill, looking at the top, going, fuck me, I'll never get up there. I needed this song. Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds like one that
banging tune. It's
I will
such
look
a
forward
wicked
to listening
tune.
to when it's added.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, I'm thoroughly enjoying our playlist at the moment. I'm listening to it a lot as I'm driving about various places. It's
nice.
It's coming together nicely.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to.
There are a couple of skippers on there, but neither of the skippers have come from us.
Not even my my surprise pop song.
I listened to that all the way through the other day.
Ah, good work, Vale. Good work.
Yeah. I think that's about it from us, isn't it?
I think it is. Yes.
So if you want to find out more, head to www.getoutinit.events. There's loads of info on there, and you can sign up for the newsletter, download the personal development friend, and book a free consultation with us to discuss your health and fitness and the implementation of a roadmap to improve it. So also, if you like the podcast, then leave us a review. It is really, really useful, and you can do it on any podcatcher that you listen to your podcast on.
You can indeed, and you should definitely come say hi. Leave a review, say hi, and we'll say hi back to you live on air. Although it's not live, it's recorded.
But you know what she means.
Yeah.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Thanks for hitting the trails with us this week. We'll meet you back here next Monday for more news, more views, more nature.
All the links for our socials are in the show notes. Find and follow us on Facebook, Insta, YouTube, and Twitter. You can subscribe to our newsletter from our website for all the latest updates and camp plans. You get a fun free gift when you sign up.
Leave a review on your podcast app. It's really easy and really helps us out.
And if you've got any friends who could do with getting out in it, then bring them along to next week's outdoor adventure. We'd love to have you all with us.
Catch you next week. Cheerio.